So coming to the today's session, we talked about different components which is used in VR, and we have discussed the preliminaries about sensors, and with the help with respect to the sensor, we discussed three different ways by which we can use the sensors. One for tracking, another one for getting the user information, and another way by which you can gather the environmental information with the help of sensors. And then we have discussed a processor, what is the need for the processor, what kind of processors are required for an AR applications we have discussed, and then the third component is in display devices. There are two categories of display devices with respect to an vision. So the first display device is an monitor based, other one is an head mounted display devices. And also we have different categories of display devices. For sound, we can have um, speakers and all as a display devices, and for sense and touching, all those things, we have a different display devices. So this content will talk only with respect to the vision display devices. How this is going to work, the working principle of each and every display devices we will discuss. Coming to the monitor based display devices, the best examples are laptop, cell phones, and projectors are the best example for monitor based display. And head mounted displays are categorized into video see-through and optical see-through mounted displays. Coming to the first category, which is a monitor based AR, it is very simple. And also it is popularly used, which requires either a desktop or a laptop or a mobile phones to see the VR experience. The principle or how it is going to work is, you have a display here, the virtual view will be displayed here. The real world information will be captured via a camera, and the information will be sent to a graphic system. The graphic systems will add the virtual object to the real world object, and finally, after merging the virtual object along with the real scene, finally the augmented content will be developed, and that will be produced to a display devices for display purpose. The participant can see the display in the display devices. The main advantage of this kind of display devices is it's mainly used practical. It's very simple and it is mainly used in many practical applications. And the second category is head mounted displays, under which we are talking about an video see-through. In the case of an video see-through, example head mounted display set is provided here. The real informations or the real world information will be captured via camera, and it will be sent to an video compositor. Mute yourself.
Yeah, it's going to carry as well. It's going to carry a long way. It's going to be 4. So nothing. A bit of shadow in it. Yes,
I'm getting some disturbances.
Sharif, we had all the headlines during the SEC, and that be great start here. 35 off 11, fresh drop got to 46.
Yeah, he's a good player.
So the video see-through head-mounted displays. The video cameras are specified here to capture the real world environment, and those real world environment will be given to a video compositor, and the participants will be using an headset. The head information will be tracked with the help of a tracking system, and those locations will be sent here. And finally, the component, the graphical object or a digital object will be added along with the video, and finally the video will be produced to the monitor for display. So the monitor here is, it will be displayed within this device itself. So the person can wear this and he can able to view the display. The advantages, it's very flexible, and it will, the real and the virtual view delay can be matched each other. And the second category is an optical see-through head mounted display. And in the case of an optical see-through head mounted display, the real world will be captured and it will be given as an input, and the here participants head portion will be tracked, everything will be given here, and the scene generator will generate it, and it will, the generated scene or the augmented content will be given to a display for displaying. And the advantages, it's very simple, and no eye offset will be here, and the resolution will be good with a case of an optical see-through head mounted display. And the fourth component is an input devices. Some input devices are required to provide some information to your AR systems. The devices can either use a button like a mouse, you can press button, or a keyboard can be used, or some activators can be used to give the some special kind of input to the system. Actually the inputs will be sent via sensors. So those, with the help of the sensor, we can able to give the input to the system, and based on that it will act and it will provide the output. So now coming to the hardware components, as we have discussed in the previous class, the components of an AR. The AR consists of hardware and software components, and also it has different hardware components that we are going to discuss in detail. Right now we have started the preliminaries of input devices, display devices, processor, and sensors, and also we have a software components that we will discuss later. Now coming to the detailed explanation of how these hardware components are going to be used. Sensors, processors, and display, we have discussed preliminaries. Now we are going into in detail. In the previous session, we have discussed as sensors are used mainly for three different purposes. One is for tracking the user informations and for gathering the environmental information, and also to get the user informations. We are using the sensors. So sensor provide information about the real world to one AR applications. How it is going to provide the informations? The first way is it provides the information about the location and the orientation of participants to the AR applications by the help of tracking that can be performed. Orientations and locations can be tracked. And the second is it also provides information such as temperature, pH values, and some other environmental informations can be provided to an AR applications with the help of gathering the environmental informations. A simple diagram which explains how AR tracking is working. The mobile cameras are there. With the help of mobile cameras, you can able to track the videos, and those videos will be processed, and finally you are rendering it, and then you are trying to animate it. A sequence will be animated. Whatever the artificial objects or the digital object you wanted, you can superimpose on the video whatever it is playing. So the primary function of a sensor is to provide information about the real world. Whatever it is capturing, those information will be provided to enable the application to determine the orientation and location of different things in the real world. So in a real world scenario, you will have different objects. All those objects should be tracked, and based on those informations only further it is going to generate a augmented content. Different types of tracking. As we have discussed in the case of an VR system, we have discussed a different type of trackings. It's the same way the trackers, different trackers are used in AR also. So we will be touching up with different trackers. I'm not going to explain the working principle of each and every trackers that already we have done in the case of an VR. So I'm just giving the preliminaries of all those trackers we are going to use in AR applications. And the camera gathers light through the lens and provide a signal that represents an image of what the camera sees. So the optical tracker is the first tracker. From the name optical, it says through the light you are going to get some informations, and for gathering those informations, the best tracker we are going to use is a camera. The most common cameras are used in AR systems are webcams, smartphones and smart tablet cameras are used, and also some special purpose cameras are used to gather the depth information and all. We can use a depth camera and all. So depth camera can be used to gather the depth information. Later we will be talking about the depth sensors or the depth cameras. So normal cameras can be used in AR applications for gathering the informations, and for some applications, suppose you wanted to get more frequency range or night views should be captured. If the environmental is dark, you need to capture those things. In such scenario, you can go for IR or UV cameras also used based on the application that can be used. The optical tracking system can be implemented by two ways. The first way is by placing a camera in the environment and having them watch the entire entity being tracked. And the second way is attaching them to the tracked entity and watching the environment. So from this two scenario, you can easily identify, or you can remember that what we have studied in VR. It can use as an outside in and inside out tracking. So same way which can be tracked, and examples are provided here. The sensors, this is the participants. The sensor and the participants watches the environment from the perspective of the participants. So with whatever the location or the orientation the participant is there, based on that he can able to view the corresponding view. Here in this example, only single sensors are used in the participants, which is used in the headset. But in some cases, multiple cameras can be also be used. And the second scenario is cameras in the environment is watching the participants. Multiple cameras are utilized here to watch this participants, and likewise single camera can be used, which depends on the applications we are going to use. The optical cameras are mainly used for tracking the user informations, and also it is mainly used for motion capturing system. In the motion capturing system, the optical cameras will capture the informations of complex motions of multiple entities. So all the multiple sceneries or multiple objects are there, all those things can be captured with the help of an optical tracking. So when we use an animated characters or multiple objects should be tracked, in such scenario you can use motion system tracking with the help of an optical tracking system. So as I told you earlier, multiple cameras are placed in the environment, and the characters or object being tracked are easily you can track, and also you can identify what is present in the particular scenario or the scenery. That can be easily identified with the help of multiple camera. It will capture different postures by which we can able to do this. AR tracking taxonomy, which is mainly focusing on two environments. One can be an indoor and another one can be an outdoor environment. When it comes to an indoor environment, it uses a limited range and also there may be an extended range, and some examples of tracking system, optical tracking systems are specified: AR toolkit, IVRD, Highball, WLBA bars. All those are some examples of an optical tracking system. And also it represent what kind of scenario it will be helpful. In the case of indoor environment, if it is limited range with low accuracy, the best example tracking system is AR toolkit. Likewise, the examples is specified here. The advantage of using a tracking system, it is able to track the informations or the objects which is being present here. The main advantages, done without recovering the wires or any other else to be attached to the object being tracked. We can able to track multiple objects at the same time, and also it is very inexpensive. The cameras are already available with many of the modern technologies, the VR application that we are using it. For example, smartphones and all, it already has an inbuilt camera by which we can able to do this. Coming to the disadvantage part, it requires a reasonable light to capture the informations. That is the main drawback. If lights are not proper, then we cannot use a normal cameras to capture all those informations. And second drawback is line of sight. The line of sight should be drawn in between the camera and the real world object and the entity being tracked. If suppose the line of sight is not there, some objects may be occluded by the other object. If multiple objects are tracked, there may be a occlusions may occur while tracking those informations. So it needs a clear line of sights. That is another disadvantage. And also the environment is suitable for tracking whatever we are using, whether indoor or outdoor tracking. The environment should be suitable for tracking. For example, if the environment is completely a same color, it is very difficult to extract the further information from the environment. So the location and orientation capturing information will be very difficult on that case. But there is a solution by which we can able to identify, or we can able to segregate a different environments with the help of fiducial markers or the symbol. That is one solutions to overcome the problem. And again, another disadvantage is an latency. There may be a delay into the system. The time to acquire image, deliver that image to the processor for processing, and then generating the content and finally sending it to back. There may be a delay in each and every process. That is also another disadvantage of an optical tracker. And next we will be moving on to an aquatical trackers, which is mainly useful for gathering the sound informations. The best example for aquatical tracker is microphones. The microphones used as a sensors. The microphone can be attached to the object which is being tracked, or can be placed in one fixed place in the environment. The informations to be sensed with the help of this microphone. The ultrasound is also used to get the higher frequency ranges. The ultrasonic tracking system can be used, and we have discussed the working principle of ultrasonic tracking system in VR. So ultrasonic tracking system can also be used here. Advantages, it doesn't affected by the lightning condition as we talks about an aquatic system. So that is an advantage, and the disadvantage part is it cannot be used in the environment where noisy signals are present. So in such scenario, that noise is also causes an extra disturbances, so it cannot be suitable in noisy environments. uh, each object to be tracked must have a sound source attached to it. So we should be able to track each and every sound sources which is attached to it. That will be a difficult task. And also it will be useful for a limited range of uh, frequency only it can be applicable. And third tracking system is an electromagnetic tracking system. The electromagnetic tracking system is used to track 6 degree of freedom. It consists of a transmitter and a receiver. The transmitter has 3 orthogonal antennas, and the corresponding receivers are attached to the entity whatever we use to track. The sensors is an receiving unit. The transmitter transmits the signal sequentially through each of its antenna. The signal is acquired by each of its antenna, and then it is analyzed, and the level of signal will be reported by each antenna can be used to compute the location and orientation of the receiver. Based on the receiver information, the location and the orientations can be computed. And example specified here, the tracking unit of electromagnetic tracking system is specified. The transmitters are kept in a fixed position, whereas the receiving unit are attached to the object being tracked. So with the help of the tracking system and the receiving system, we can able to find out the location and the orientation. The advantage of electromagnetic tracking system is it's very precise and accurate, but and similar to the previous case, it doesn't depends on the lighting information. It can be used in either a dark or a bright or whatever the environmental condition, we can able to use electromagnetic tracker. Coming to the disadvantage part, it's sensitive to a metal in the environment that they are kept. So limited range, and also it's costly. It has a wire connector between the receiver and the transmitting unit, and with the help of wires only it will be connected. So that is also one disadvantage. To overcome the disadvantage, we can go for a wireless system, but when we go for a wireless systems, the wires will be reduced, but again the drawback will be it requires a huge battery pack with each sensors. That will be another limitations of electromagnetic tracking. Next comes an mechanical tracking. The mechanical tracking operates by using an linkages to the object you wish to track. So those linkages have a sensors at each of its joint that reports the angle between the linkages. So with the help of this angle of the linkages, we can able to identify the orientation and the location of the object. The advantage of mechanical tracking is it's very fast and precise, and also it can be integrated with a force feedback. So with the help of a force feedback, it will provide another level of realism to the participants. So when he touch something, he can able to feel those informations. So it can able to integrate force feedback along with the AR application also when we use mechanical tracker. The disadvantage is it's quite costly and also works well in application where mechanical component can be hidden from the view, and it is used for a limited range. because it is physically connected with the mechanical system, so only limited range it can be used. And different sensors that are used for tracking will be discussed right now. The depth sensor and multiple sensors are the other sensors we can use it. In the case of an depth sensors, it will provide the depth information. If an object is captured, what is the depth value of the object from the sensors will be gathered with the help of depth sensors. So with this, the location of the object can be easily identified. The advantages, it's very relatively inexpensive. That is the one advantage, and also it doesn't require anything to be attached to the object being tracked. That is another advantage. When it comes to a disadvantage part, so it will say the depth information of the object only, but it doesn't provide you the orientation and or doesn't tell you what is the object. The object which is seen, those information cannot be provided with the depth sensors, and it requires a line of sight. So as we discussed earlier, if there is a line of sight, so it is very difficult to track multiple object. It can be occluded by another object. And coming to the multiple sensors, some trackers requires more than one sensor for tracking. Each sensor will be contributing to an overall goal of a tracking. So the example is an accelerometers, which is used to obtain the informations about the relative motion, and but doesn't provide any information about the locations. So the best example for multiple sensors is Xbox Kinect, which uses a combination of depth sensors, optical tracking, and an array of microphones to achieve the AR experience, which to determine the location and the orientation. With the help we can use it. Advantages, uh, it has multiple sensors. Each sensors will be assigned with different tasks so that we can get more informations. That will be the advantage. And coming to the disadvantage part, uh, integrating multiple sensors will be an tedious task, and also if you use more number of sensors, cost will be more. And some other sensors can be used for in the tracking systems. Those sensors are some example sensors are GPS, compass, and gyroscopic sensors are available to track locations or the orientation. Based on the sensors, it will either track the locations or the orientations. When we use an iPhones, in iPhone it consists of many sensors. One is touch screen, camera, microphones, accelerometer, gyroscopes, and the depth sensors are available. So when a person is keeping a phone near to the ear, automatically the touch screen will be disabled. uh, so these are all the some examples by which how the sensors are used in the smartphones. So the sensors are mainly used to obtain the information about the real world, and those informations will be given to AR applications. Sometimes the AR application requires some the information about the environment. Either it can be a temperature or pH level and all. For those temperature sensors or pH sensors will be utilized to get those informations. So So we have discussed about different types of sensors that is used as an input device, and then we will be moving on to the processor. In the case of processor, when we talks about any AR applications, the processor or the can be categorized into two things. One is either you can go for an general purpose microprocessors, or we can call it as an CPU, or a special purpose GPUs can be used, because uh, when we talks about any AR application which uses an generation of 3D graphics. So when we talks about an graphic system, it requires a high computations. So in such scenario, CPU cannot handle the complex 3D graphic systems. So obviously we need to go for a GPU systems. The main role of an processor is to receive the signal from the sensor, execute the instructions from the application program based on the sensor information, and create the signals that derives the display of the system. It will gather the informations, and it is going to perform some operations, and finally it is going to provide the informations to a display devices. Those informations are the augmented content that is going to be displayed. So processors plays a main role. Uh, there are different architectures available. So we will discuss each and every architectures, how the AR systems uses these architecture. These architectures depends on again the applications. So whichever suits for your application, you can select such kind of processors architecture. The applications can run on handheld system, or it can be the handheld system can be connected with remote servers, or it can be run on desktop or a laptop. Similarly, the desktop and the laptop can be connected with remote servers. The applications uh, run as a web applications. Our applications run on a cloud with a thin client. Other combinations of local and remote system can be used. So coming to the first, handheld systems. The best example for the handheld system is in smartphones and the tablets, which has the good computational powers. So with the help of those computational capacity, we can make an AR applications to render onto those handheld devices itself. It executes the task required for basic tracking interfacing with sensors. So these tasks can be attained with the help of handheld devices. So when it comes to one complex task such as to compute the complex simulation and all, in such scenario the handheld devices cannot be useful due to the restrictions in the memory and the storage. It can able to handle only a limited number of virtual object, because the device size is small. It can able to display only small number or limited number of the objects. So to overcome these at disadvantage, we can move on to one remote servers. And the another limitations is the application need to be run in a remote location without a network. Without a network, we cannot connect it with the remote locations. That will be a drawback. But the second system will be an handheld system connected with the server. Obviously it requires the internet connections for performing this, because it will be connected with a remote server. To handle data in handheld devices, it is helpful to couple the handheld devices to the server, either with the help of an wired or wireless connections. The server connected to the handheld devices, uh, again, the limitations are number, size, the complexity of availability via handheld devices can be overcome via this. So previously we have seen that the memory and the storage will be a difficult task. In the case of an handheld devices, handling this will be a difficult. To overcome this, we are using a server. The some task can be kept in the server. Whenever it is required, it can be fetched and we can use it in the handheld devices, and by this way we can overcome the drawback of the memory and the storage problems of the handheld devices. But when it comes to one server, the main drawback will be the net connection should be always available. That will be a main drawback. And also it should be portable. And the third system is a laptop or a desktop computer. The AI applications can run on either a laptop or a desktop. So compared to the handheld devices, it has more capacity to handle the memory and the storage. But still some complex task cannot be performed with the help of a laptop or a desktop computer. So in such scenario, it requires some supercomputer to perform the powerful task and all. It cannot handle those tasks. Only a basic AI applications can be performed with the help of a laptop or a desktop computers. So to avoid this problem, again it can be connected. The laptop or a desktop can be connected with the server. With the help of this, we can able to get the require computations can be performed with the help of laptop and desktop. Applications run as some web applications. The web application is a tool the participant uses to interact with the applications is through the web browsers. The browsers may or may not be needed for a special plugin to run the applications. So with the help of this web applications, we can also able to do this. The scenario here is it uses the cross-platform augmented reality applications. The limitation is the web browser need to have some way of accessing the sensors that can be uh, either within or connected to the devices, and the second limitation is requires a device to be connected to www World Wide Web. Sometimes it may not be possible, and obviously the latency will be there when we move on to one web applications. So some kind of informations can be provided in a server side and the other informations will be present in a client side. So to communicate with the server and the client side, the latency may be there. So objects are loaded from the server to the client as we need it, and new objects can be loaded on the client side. So we have a server architecture. So with the help of one server, the previous informations will be loaded in the server whenever it is required. The processors can request it and it can be used based on the applications. The new virtual objects will be created with the help of some softwares. And the fifth one is an applications runs on a cloud with a thin client. So instead of loading everything into the client can be a thin client. The bulk of applications runs on the cloud. So this will solve the problem of web-based application problems. And other combinations of local and remote processors can be used. Whatever combinations we want, we can use it. It depends on the applications and how it is going to be used. Final ultimate aim should be it should provide a best possible AR applications after combining it. Choosing the most appropriate architecture for applications. So there is a trade-off between the terminologies such as portability versus power, portability versus need of network access, cross-platform performance versus need for network access. So there is a trade-off between all these things. So the best solution where the need isn't true portable, isn't standalone application on the handheld devices. However, if the application requires more computation or memory than the device it support, we can move on to a remote access with the help of a network. And also there is another advantage, we can use an web-based applications. If a specific applications can be delivered this way, then we can go for an web-based applications also. And there is a note you should be understand there. Most AI applications are rather hardware specific, and sometimes it is a platform independence also. So it needs to be more platform. It is platform dependent. It needs to be a platform independent so that the successful in AI can be easily viewed. The different devices what we have discussed here along with the trade-offs are specified here for all those things. All 7 combinations of architectures as provided with different trade-offs, whether it can support or not are specified here. Processor specification. So there are 6 different specifications need to be considered when we were talking about any processor. Number of processors, processor speed, available memory, disk space, and graphics accelerator, network bandwidth, and latency. So when it comes to a number of processors, uh, the basic processing required for carrying out AI tasks such as integrating the input from the sensor, executing the computer vision algorithm, and carrying out the instruction from AI applications can be handled by virtually any modern processors what we have nowadays. It is not specifically you should have this many processors or in no specific constraints. If the task is more complex, then you need a more number of processors to execute that. Processor speed, as we discussed earlier, the speed should be very fast so that the reality component can be seen in the virtual environment. And the availability of memory, the memory available are very less. um, so whenever it is required, it should be either swapped from a secondary devices, or it is from server we are swapping it. So a huge memory is required for this, and also available storage disk space. It requires a good disk space because it is going to be stored the information and retrieve the information. The processing, if if storing here and there will take more time, that may causes an delay also. So the disk storage can be kept in a remote and we can access it if it has a less disk space in the system. And graphics accelerators are they are the hardware used to optimize for doing the 3D computations. So when we talks about an desktop systems, the graphics cards are the accelerator. When in the case of smartphones and the tablets, it is present inbuilt. And when it comes to a network bandwidth and the latency, the bandwidth is the rate at which the data can pass in the network. It is represented in bits per second. The network bandwidth is not as critical in AI system as latency. So when it comes to a latency part, the latency is a delay between the gathering, capturing the information and processing and again sending back to the display. Whenever the delay is there, all the delay will be computed as in latency delay. When the system is interconnected with a remote server or via the network, then the delay in transmitting the information is called the network latency. So those latency will also causes the problem for the final outputs. So those latency should not be there. So while designing or while choosing any processor, we need to keep in mind how we are going to choose it. So we will discuss the remaining content in the next class. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.